Hey, Jorge.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
Good.
All right.
Fantastic. All right, let's see if third time's a charm here on this. Oh my gosh.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hey.
I just had to change my name. Make sure that's right. I'll make you guys co-hosts.
Thank you.
I'll just pause.
All right, excellent. It's now 4:02. Sorry, we're running a little bit late here. Had a little bit of a technical snafu in terms of the webinar versus meeting. And I don't know, Janet, if you or Hannah want to talk a little bit about kind of how we're going to be doing this this meeting a little bit different. Do you guys want to start off with that?
Yeah, happy to. For the participants on the meeting, so this Zoom meeting was set up differently than the typical format where there's a panelists and participants separation. So everyone in the meeting is all invited in on the same room. We would still like to follow the same format for public comment and general request for everyone in the participants to remain muted unless you're asked to speak. And for public comment, we'll still be following the same protocol for inviting speakers to speak and raise their hand and provide their comment within the specified time frame. And Janet can get to that during that portion of the agenda. But just for general meeting preference, to have everyone remain muted unless speaking.
Great. Thank you. All right. And with that, want to welcome everyone to the May 2022 meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. What we're going to be doing today is a lot of a continuation of our discussion to align on 22-23 goals and establishing some of the subcommittees and whatnot. So relatively busy agenda, seeing this is our third crack at this. But I guess what I'll do just to get this thing kicked off is call the meeting to order. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Janice, I don't know if you have the our nice virtual flag up. If not, I think we can make do. All right, I'm assuming we're not going to have the flag for today. All right, so I'll start off. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oh, we did get the flag. Fantastic. Okay, so I guess just moving right along here. The next item is item 2, the roll call. So Janice, could you please take roll?
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Mariles.
Here.
Commissioner Okello. Commissioner Okello is absent. Commissioner Mane.
Yes.
Chair Laguna.
Here.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. The next item of business we have to do, and as we've been doing the last couple of months, is we're gonna once again need to adopt a resolution to continue meeting virtually. Before we did that, though, one of the things that I saw earlier this week was that the Board of Supervisors actually had a recent hybrid meeting. So I don't know if Director Calderon or any other of the county staff could talk a little bit about kind of how, and I don't know if you guys saw or heard how it went, but I'm really interested to see, what happened there, and potentially maybe whether we would adopt something similar later down the road.
Chair Laguna, happy to address that. So this last Board of Supervisors meeting, as you said, was the first one of a hybrid nature. So 2 of the 5 supervisors were in person and in the board chambers. The other 3 were virtual, and members of the public were still participating virtually. There were a few technical challenges that had to be overcome, but that's normal when piloting a new way of hosting a public meeting. which was certainly the case here. I think it was a preview as to what's really probably going to come across the board for many Brown Act governed bodies. I think one of the things just to make sure that I call out is that this is able to occur because we are still under a declaration of emergency for COVID. And to the best of my knowledge, no legislation has been adopted by the legislature and signed by the governor that would allow this type of meeting to occur once the emergency declaration is lifted. So I think it was, I think for being the first time it was done, that as someone who was watching it, I think it was a success. And I think certainly something that we could discuss. And I think we would have to look at the staff level as to how we would work that out from a technological perspective. I'd have to speak with the clerk of the board to see how that worked. But overall, it seemed to have been a success.
Good. Great. Any other, I guess, comments or questions from the other commissioners before we open up for public comment prior to adopting that resolution?
No. So I have my hand up. So
yeah,
I have friends and colleagues from respective cities, whether it be San Francisco, being born and raised in San Francisco, and other South Bay and even Southern California. They are meeting in person. I know that personally, this thing is back to spiking up and up and up again, and it's not going away. So if we're going to continue to meet virtually, so be it. And it's probably not going to happen anytime soon that any of us going to see each other, unless you're spot someone sandwich store or Trader Joe's, or maybe see somebody in the airport, who knows, maybe at a park. So it's going to be a while before any of us see each other. So if it's going to be that way, then I'm going to make a motion that we're going to continue meeting virtually.
Fantastic. And any other comments before we open it up for public comment? All right. Good. All right. So now let's open this one up for public comment before we go ahead and make a motion. So Janice, maybe you can give the instructions.
Sure, no problem. We'll be using the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments for this meeting during the general public comment period. And for each item on the regular agenda, we'll ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raised hand feature to raise your hand and to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I don't see anybody by phone, but earlier there was a phone number listed, so it's just in case. Please note that members of the public must wait for my prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raised hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand at the beginning of the meeting for an agenda that's later in the meeting. When you hear your name called, I'll prompt you to unmute your account and inform you that you may begin speaking, and you'll have 2 minutes at that time. And so right now, I don't know if we're moving on to items not on the agenda. We're not doing.
No, this is just for for item 3. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's it.
Great. But it looks like Carlisle and Young has her hand up. Is that for this item?
I do, and I'm waiting to be
Fantastic.
go ahead and unmute myself. Is that how it works? Or was Janet gonna recognize me?
Ms. Young, just please wait to unmute until you're asked to unmute going forward. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hi, Carlisle Ann Young, Moss Beach. I live near the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, and the Half Moon Bay Review recently published that there were 2 attacks and at the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, and at least one of them had to do with an off-leash dog in the restricted area near the seals.
Carlisle, I'm going to stop you right now. So this is public comment for item 3. So if it has something to do with the resolution authorizing virtual commission meetings, great.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
If not, no worries. We'll get
I'll
to that.
start
That's the
over
next
when
one.
it's
Yeah,
my turn. Thank you.
Totally. Yeah, no worries.
What's item 3? Is it about the virtual hybrid meetings?
Exactly.
Okay, well, I'll just briefly weigh in and say that I think it's a good idea to go with the hybrid meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, any other public comment on item 3?
I don't see anybody with their hand raised for this item.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to move to adopt a resolution authorizing Parks Commission to meet virtually in May, given the imminent risks of meeting in person. Do I have a second?
Yes. Second.
Okay, Janeth, can I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlies,
Yes.
Commissioner Okello is absent. Commissioner Mene,
Aye.
Chair Laguna.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
And I believe Commissioner
Kelly.
Okello did join the
Commissioner
meeting.
Keller did join, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
There he is.
my vote is aye.
Okay. So all commissioners present.
Great, thank you. All right, now that we have that out of the way, we will switch gears to public comment. So as you know, we've been saying, this is an opportunity for individuals to address items that are not on the agenda, and this isn't going to be necessarily up for discussion with the commissioners, but we do appreciate everybody's public comments. So I know we had just read the public participation instructions for the audience, but Janeth, if you could take a poll from the public and see who has something to say.
Yes, Chair. Carla Allen Young with her hand raised, so you'll have 2 minutes, and go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Okay, I'll start over. Carlisle Ann Young. I live in Seal Cove in Moss Beach near the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve. And there was an article in the Half Moon Bay Review about 3 weeks after the event. It happened on March 28th. And maybe one day after that too. There were 2 separate attacks or incidents where women were assaulted in the Marine Reserve. And my understanding is that one of them was because the park ranger was dealing with a fellow that had an off-leash dog, and he was in the seal restricted area. The part that upset me was that he was escorting the gentleman back up to the parking lot and left the woman down on the beach, and she started in with 2 seal counters who are volunteers. They're not park employees, but they do a lot of good work for the Marine Reserve. And he heard the woman screaming because she got mad because one of the seal counters had a camera around her neck. And he came running back down the ramp and hit the woman, the volunteer, so hard that she was knocked out cold, and they had to carry her off the beach on a stretcher. And, you know, we still recently had the Planning Commission said that we couldn't have off-leash dogs in the Gene Lauer Trail area of the Bluffs at the Marine Reserve either. So I'm asking San Mateo County, especially the Parks Commission, to see what they can do about creating more enforcement, especially for off-leash dogs, but just to have more people around. The article in the review said that he called for backup, but the other park ranger was on Devil's Slide. So he had to call the sheriffs. And then someone else said, I don't know if this is true, you can confirm it if you'd like, that the park rangers aren't actually law enforcement. So they just didn't help the 2 volunteers. So thank you.
Thank you so much. At this point, there are no other hands raised, Chair.
Great. Okay, so we'll move from here. We'll move to the next item, which is action to set the agenda. So once again, just to expedite this, I will make a motion to set the agenda. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Great, thank you. Janeth, roll call, please.
Commissioner Green,
Aye. Sorry, I was just looking up that article.
Commissioner Okello,
Aye.
Commissioner Marylees,
Yes.
Commissioner Mane. Commissioner Mane. No response. Chair Laguna.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so next item is the Parks Foundation Executive Director's Report. Looks like we have Michelle. Would you like to go ahead?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, commissioners and staff and guests. I am Michelle Beasley, Executive Director of the San Mateo County Parks Foundation, and it's a pleasure to be with you. I have 3 highlights that I want to share today. The first is this Sunday, May 8th, Open Road with Doug McConnell will air on NBC Bay Area at 6:30 p.m. And I encourage everyone to check it out, because it will be featuring forest health work that's being done at Hutter and Wonderlick County Parks, and will be featuring San Mateo County's Assistant Parks Director, Hannah Ormshaw, who talks about some of the proactive steps Parks is taking. So I encourage all of you to check that out. Again, it's this Sunday, May 8th at 6:30 p.m. on NBC Bay Area. The second thing I wanted to mention is thank you to the Parks Foundation Board of Directors for releasing $10,000 to improve trails at Edgewood Preserve. And some of these trails are equestrian trails, and some of this funding came through a trails challenge that the Bay Area Barns and Trails did last year. They're actually doing that challenge again this year. So it would be possible for San Mateo County to win again, but part of that funding is going to support improving the Clarkia, Serpentine, and the Sylvan trails at Edgewood Park. So very excited to be able to support that. And then the third thing I want to mention is the San Mateo County Parks Foundation is really excited to be growing. We recently hired our first full-time program coordinator, Adriana Fernandez Arriaga. She started this Monday, and she is going to be helping us better connect people to the parks. We'll be taking over management of our whale tail grant, and also managing our youth environmental field trips program, among other things. So she will be out and about in the parks, and if you meet her, please say hi. She is on this Parks Commission meeting today. So those are my updates, and happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks.
Great. And welcome, Adriana, to the actually on the other side, because before, yeah, I think some of you guys might know she was actually a board member on the Parks Foundation, and she's moved on to actual full-time work. So welcome. Great work as always, Michelle. Other commissioners, any comments, questions, or anything else for Michelle?
No, thank you, Michelle, though.
I have a question just for the trail grant that went to Edgewood. Like, how do you decide which park you're applying for, where to direct the funds if it's not part of the application?
Well, this all started because we were working with Bay Area Barns and Trails on an equestrian grant. And so we were talking to equestrians about some of the needs in San Mateo County parks. And one of those was specific to Edgewood Preserve and the Clarkia Trail needing re-rocking. So we got funding for that. And so in following up with park rangers so that we can get this project done, we came to learn that there are actually more needs at Edgewood Preserve, and that it was worth our time and effort to consider more trails. And the Parks Foundation receives quite a few donations that are restricted specifically for trails, and also gifts that are restricted for equestrian use. So we were able to use those restrictions and put it to good work at Edgewood. But basically, this was a need that came before us, and we consider anything. So if you know of something in another park, please bring it to our attention.
Thank you. Thanks for the close collaboration with the department.
Great. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners? All right. I believe this is an item that we'll open up for public comment as well. Janet?
Okay, we're now opening public comment. If your hand is raised, your name will be called. Let's give it a few seconds. I didn't see anybody with their hand raised at the moment. And there's nobody with their hand raised, Chair.
All right, great. So we'll move on to item 7, the director's report. So Director Calderon, do you want to take it away?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So a couple updates for the commission this month. Very happy to be able to say, after talking about it for over 2 years, this week we broke ground on the pump track at Quarry Park. So what you see here before you is the raising of the exclusionary fencing, and this week is really all about getting the BMPs in place, the best management practices in place, making sure we're doing the proper surveys, making sure we're complying with our coastal development permit. So really excited to get this going. The schedule for this is, it started this week and it's to be completed by July 1. We're actually hoping that we'll be able to have it completed prior to that. And I've already received phone calls and emails from members of the community who are very excited to see equipment out there and the project breaking ground. And for anyone who's really familiar with this project knows that there are a lot of families who've been asking for this project when their kids were kids, and now their kids are in high school or maybe even college. And so really excited that we're getting this project going and going to make this amenity available this summer. Another project that is really important for us is the Coyote Point water distribution and sewer collection system, as well as the Hutter Park water distribution project. This is a project that you will hear me talk a lot about, and really one of the most unique things about this project is you'll never see any of it. It's all underground, but it really highlights the importance of maintaining all of our facilities and our amenities and our utilities. And this is a great example where when these lines break, restrooms are closed. When these lines break, hose bibs and water fountains and restrooms are unable to have running water, and it really impacts the visitor experience. So this is something that, again, you'll hear me talk a lot about. We had our kickoff actually the week of the last commission meeting. We are fully anticipating that the assessment will be completed in July. We're working with our Department of Public Works on this, and they've brought on BKF engineers to oversee the assessment. Once the assessment's done, we're going to look at the findings and understand what condition the existing systems are in, and we will prepare with engineers designs to provide the best services possible. And one of the unique opportunities about overhauling an entire system instead of just a part of a system is you get to look for efficiencies. You get to look for ways to reroute the system so that you can save linear footage, you can isolate areas that may be problematic, and really set yourself up for success when it comes to operations and maintenance down the road. So really excited about this project and can't wait to see the outcomes of the assessment. Memorial Park restroom and shower room replacement project phase 2. This project is going to be done. Of the 6 facilities being built, 5 will be done by Memorial Day weekend and 1 will be done in July. But the one that won't be done until July is actually in a part of the park that's currently closed because it's being upgraded for different types of services. So everything that the public's going to interface with this camping season will be open by Memorial Day weekend. And these facilities I can't go on enough about how excited these are, but I will tell a brief story. We were just earlier today on a flood park meeting, and the consultant was talking about different types of restrooms that you can bring in to a park, and showed a picture of the facilities that we have in Memorial Park, and was talking about these as, these are a really great option for restroom facilities, and they are really high quality. And so we had to tell them at the end, we're like, hey, we couldn't agree with you more, but FYI, that's actually our park that you're showing us a picture of. So really excited to have these facilities open. We are currently, again, on schedule for 5 of the 6, and we will be coming in on budget for these facilities, which is something that I'm very happy to be able to say. And I certainly know Rolando and the county manager and the board are also happy for us to be able to say that. Flood Park is hitting some great new milestones. So we had a survey out and we have had an opportunity to receive the survey results. At the URL at the bottom of the slide shows a link to the survey results. And what we will do now is we will take all of that information and we will revise the landscape plan. And so the landscape plan is what you see on the top right here. We're going to revise that landscape plan to reflect the values and the feedback and the desires of the public as expressed by the survey results. And so this is really an iterative process, but what it allows us to do is to have a project at the end that balances all the different wants and desires for a park like Flood Park. So we will be releasing the revised landscape plan this month, and we'll be hosting a workshop in early June. And so very excited to bring the revised landscape plan to the commission. Certainly we'll make sure to send you all the link to the webpage when we make that public. Again, that will be this month. But what we're seeing is that through very strategic and specific revisions to the landscape plan, we can find an amazing balance between active recreation and playgrounds and picnic and reservation sites and preservation of trees throughout the park. So very excited to roll this out to the public and be able to receive feedback. And again, we're very optimistic that the changes we've made have balanced all those differing perspectives. Last time I was before the board or the commission, I explained that the board had approved the off-leash dog recreation pilot program. Again, this will be at Quarry Park for 12 months. I checked in with our planning and building department, and they did not receive any word of an appeal for the coastal development permit, which means we will be able, and we are starting the pilot program. This is something that Commissioner Mariles can tell you was many years in the works, and we're very excited to be able to get the pilot program moving, to be able to study this use and really understand what type of possible impacts may be occurring, as well as compliance. But very excited to say that our last round of monitoring showed phenomenal compliance with the pilot program at Quarry Park, and really showing that the dog community is taking great strides to make sure they're picking up after their dog or other people's dogs in some cases, making sure that their dogs are being respectful of other visitors. Very excited to see the direction that this pilot program will go. Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, we are still in pupping season, and as of earlier this week, we had 24 harbor seal pups out there, and as you can tell from the photo, absolutely adorable. We will be doing another count tomorrow, and looking forward to seeing what those new numbers are. But overall, very excited for this time of year, and I know the public is equally excited. We are back to doing in-person interpretive program events. And so in April was the first month that we were doing in-person events. We had to take a hike at Quarry Park with 25 participants. Very excited to say that we even had dogs participating with the Take a Hike program. I will say that when we do programming that dogs are involved in, the dogs do have to stay on leash, but we're excited to see that dog owners and non-dog owners are participating in these events together. We also held a couple events at Friendship Park in North Fair Oaks. We held our first Park RX program of the year, and really the first one in person for some time at San Pedro Valley. And then we also had a STEAM library event at Friendship Park, as well as a BioBlitz at Devil's Slide. So really excited to be able to offer in-person events for the public again. And I know that people are extremely excited to be able to get out there and engage with our staff and other members of their community at these events. Quarry Park Master Plan, we have the draft master plan out for public review right now. There will be a public workshop next week, May 10th at 7 p.m. And then either on the 12th or the 13th, we will be opening a community survey, which will give the public an opportunity to provide feedback in addition to at the community workshop through the survey. And then on May 25th, we will be at the Mid-Coast Community Council presenting that. So really excited to be getting this plan out there and allowing the community to see what we've put together with all the feedback that they've provided over the years. And you know, an interesting thing that we've done in this regard is we've actually started the implementation before the plan was adopted, and now it's things like fuel reduction, dogs, and the pump track. But overall, really thrilled to see the participation that we receive from the public in developing this plan. And last, Coyote Point Eastern Promenade. This is a project that has been in the works for many, many, many years, and it is now officially open. And as you can see, it really is such a unique opportunity along the Bay Shore that includes new facilities, a new section of the Bay Trail. The beach itself is just wonderful to walk on, and the views are absolutely amazing as well. So this is really just going to be a new experience that the public can have at Coyote Point, and very excited to be able to offer that. We will be hosting a a ceremonial opening of the promenade on Friday, May 20th, and that's going to be starting at 3 p.m. It'll go till about 5 p.m. We'll make sure that we send this out to the commissioners. It will be posted on our website as well, and we will have a few speakers there and really highlight for the public first the type of projects we're doing with public funds, but also the importance of doing projects like the Eastern Promenade project when you think about things like sea level rise and the impacts of climate change. So again, Friday, May 20th, starting at 3 p.m. Very excited to be able to show this off to the public and allow the public to see this new opportunity and experience they can have in the San Mateo County Park system. And so with that said, I am happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Great, thank you, Director Calderon. And yeah, a lot of really, really good progress. I guess, yeah, do any of the commissioners have any comments or other things before we move on to public comment? It looks like Heather.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the update. A couple of questions. So for the flood park, so the community feedback that's been received at our last meeting, I think we discussed the possibility of, or the expectation of hearing that hearing that item, or hearing it as an item in some detail so we could follow along. Will that happen, or can you provide some more detail about what the public said, or do you have any backup slides about that?
So, Commissioner Green, I believe the intention was to bring that forward in July, sometime in the summer months, but I believe that was, or maybe it was in the fall, but that will be on the agenda, and we will be providing a presentation to the commission. What I can tell you is that there was strong responses from the public with regards to an interest in preserving heritage trees, preserving the heart of the oak woodland, and really working to balance tree preservation with expanding uses. Also, there was a strong showing from the community of really wanting a park that people can use informally and on a drop-in basis. So not necessarily having to go through an organized league, not intentionally calling anyone out, but like an AYSO or CYSO, right? People wanted something where they can go with their friends or their family and play a pickup game and have a picnic and really use as a community gathering space. And so those were the strongest responses that we received. And we certainly anticipated that given the feedback we've received over the years this project's been underway, as well as the first workshop. And certainly the revision to the landscape plan will reflect that. But again, we will be presenting this as its own detailed item to the commission at a future meeting.
So, but are the results available now? Like,
Yeah,
has the
they were at that.
consultant put it together?
Yeah, Commissioner Green, they were at the link that was shown on the slide. I can,
Great.
and I
Yeah,
can
but
put
we didn't
that.
have the link in advance of the meeting. So, I mean, this is just like the kind of thing where like the materials are important, and like having a URL that I can't remember is not, you know what I'm saying? I would appreciate it if we could find a way to make the input you've collected just shared again. I understand like the stakeholders who are part of the meeting process have been able to follow along as they go, but here from the countywide perspective, it would be nice.
Yeah,
if we
Commissioner,
could
oh, sorry, keep
see
going.
the details. Oh, no, that's it. You get the idea.
Yeah, Commissioner Green, I hear what you're saying. Again, right, the intention is that this information is to be presented as a detailed item where we can provide greater context than just the survey results. And so that's something that I look forward to working with Chair Laguna on scheduling and bringing before the commission.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm interested in the results as they are. So I look forward to seeing that. And if you can just make sure that the link is distributed, that'd be great. And then can you please speak to, I mean, we talked about seal pups at Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, but you know, we heard in general public comment what feels like a pretty pressing item of public safety. So can you please talk about the department's response there?
Yeah, through the chair, Commissioner Green. So the assault that occurred is a sheriff's office matter. The San Mateo County Parks Department and its rangers are not law enforcement officers in the sense that a sheriff's deputy or a local police officer are. And so that's why when the incident occurred, the incident was reported immediately to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office responded within minutes. So, so this issue is in the hands of the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office, and the speaker was correct that park rangers are not sworn law enforcement officers that are trained and authorized to detain individuals, to make arrests. That's not what the position is. So that portion of it is correct. However, the incident that took place is not a systemic issue. It is not a reoccurring issue. The issue that took place on the 28th of March was a one-off situation in which staff handled appropriately. They were made aware, and I believe we talked about this at the last meeting, but they were made aware of a dog on the beach. They arrived, they responded, they removed the individual with the dog from the beach, and then when it escalated, they called for the sheriff's office. So, you know, I think any information beyond that that's the public's interested in, I would direct you to the sheriff's office or the district attorney's office, given that this is their incident to investigate and proceed on.
Yeah, and I just really want to, well, first of all, thank staff for, you know, the bravery it takes to deal with some really difficult situations, and also like the clarity about the line between whose responsibility is what. You know, I think it's really helpful for people to hear the roles and responsibilities. So, you know, understand that and don't want anybody, you know, putting themselves in more danger than they have to and getting involved in something that they're not supposed to be involved in. I think, you know, I'm glad everybody came out okay.
Great. Commissioner Merrilees, you look like you had your hand up. I know
I
it's been a
did,
while.
but that was my question.
Oh, that's what you, okay.
And it was answered very well. I just wanted to hear a little bit more about that because that is a big issue that people kind of want to know about. Yeah, if we want our rangers to carry guns and arrest people, then that's something that we should talk about as a community group. You know, I don't think I want that. I would rather have the rangers be resources for information and help, not people to be avoided if you're trying to do something wrong. I think the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve is 3 blocks away from a sheriff's substation, so it couldn't be any better placed for issues, and it's very well used. So with the number of people that go there a year, there's got to be some difficult people that go there along with that group. So I just wanted to hear if there was something we could correct or improve, and it seems like no, that it was handled the way it should have been handled. So thank you.
Great. Looks like Commissioner Okello has his hand up raised.
Through the chair, I would like to suggest something. Granted, you know, the Parks Director has indicated that, you know, this incident is not systemic, but at the same time, I think it is an issue of concern. So I think it would be to our interest to perhaps at some point in the future, you know, invite the sheriff's department or somebody from the sheriff's department to indicate to us what kind of issues, you know, they deal with relating to county parks, you know, and if you can get the data in terms of numbers and types of issues and so on and so forth, so we can make an informed decision as to how best we can move forward.
Okay, great. Yeah, we can definitely see if we can add that for a future. I just think in general it would be good to kind of understand like what we're talking about here, like how isolated these incidents are, if there's more things that are kind of happening. But yeah, Director Calderon, we can kind of work on maybe scheduling it for a future meeting. Great. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners before we open it up for public comment?
I do have another question.
Oh, go ahead.
Specifically about Flood Park. I do understand that the school district is either selling the property that is located in the vicinity of Flood Park that used to house a Flood Elementary School, or it has the intent of building, you know, teacher housing. And so has the Ravenswood City School District interfaced with the Parks Department at all as to, you know, what their intentions are, since whatever it is that they do is going to have some impact on the flood park facility?
Through the chair, Commissioner Okello, the Ravenswood School District has contacted the department as well as the county as an organization and made their desires known to us that they would like to have an affordable housing project on the flood school site. The details around how many units, when it would be built, who would be building it, I don't have that information, but I know that the school district and the city are working very closely, given that the city has land use jurisdiction over the property.
Okay.
And they have contacted the department with regards to a variety of matters, given that we are the largest neighbor to that site. The conversations at this point are pretty early and preliminary, and they are still in the due diligence period. So I don't have much information beyond that, although I do know there's a lot of interest around it. So I would imagine the school district is going to be releasing information when they feel like they have enough information to release.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute there. Any other comments before we open it up for public comment? All right, Janice, let's open it up.
Thank you. We're now opening public comment for this item, and I do see Carla Ann Young with her hand raised. Just give me 1 second. Ms. Young, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to say one more thing. I know on the Seal Cove side of the Marine Reserve where the staircase is, there is a no dogs allowed sign. Maybe you should put up the amount of the fine, which I don't even know what it is because maybe it's not posted. I'm not sure. But that might deter some of these out of the area people. I'm not even sure if the perpetrator was out of the area, but he obviously ignored the no dog sign if he did go down on the beach with his dog. And I wanted to ask if you know, it seems like the rangers that do patrol the bluffs and the Marine Reserve don't really want to give out tickets that much. I could be wrong on that, but you know, especially back when Dave Holland was the Parks Commission director, well, it's probably 2 people ago. He said because of the historic use of the Bluff Trail where the Gene Lauer Trail is now, that they didn't really want to give out tickets, but that was recently changed. So it might be a good idea if you post the fine amounts at the entrances to both of the areas, just to kind of deter the people that feel like they're special and their dog doesn't, you know, maybe they didn't see the sign, I'm not sure, but it would just be a good idea to post a stronger warning at the thing that's saying it dogs have to be on leash for the Gene Lauer Trail, and that the Bluff Trail, I mean, the reserve, there's no dogs allowed, period. It might help. And then as far as Flood Park goes, I'm hoping you're keeping a substantial amount of the trees, because I know when I attended the public meeting, a lot of people were in the same chat room I was in, very upset that they were planning to cut down so many trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. We'll now call on Fran Pollard. Fran, please go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Fran Pollard in El Granada, next to Quarry Park. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'll bring up, I'm wondering why all the activities are being forced onto Quarry Park, and so many other parks in the county don't get anything, especially the dogs. I think it's time to open up some other parks for dogs, even, at least even on leash, if not off leash, and other activities in other parks. And I think you definitely need to hire more rangers to guard places like the Marine Reserve and Quarry Park, since there's going to be so many activities, especially once the pump track is open. I think it's, oh, and you said that the dog people are being very good about whatever you're monitoring, but nobody is noticing all the dogs in the tot lot and the little playground above the tot lot, which is all part of the tot lot area. Originally, that's available to families here in the coast for playing, for picnicking, for games and ball games and all kinds of activities that they do up there. But when it's full of dogs, they don't play up there. So for asking for 4 acres out of 600 that you have for dogs, I think it's not asking too much. I wish you'd put up more signs and really monitor and make sure dogs are not allowed in those 4 acres. And as far as the pump track, it seems a lot bigger than it was supposed to be. I don't know. And I think you're going to probably have to make have people reserve spots. Otherwise, with all the activities that go on all day long, families coming to the park all day, hiking with or without dogs, there's going to be so much traffic and so many cars coming. I think you're going to have to take reservations for the pump track because otherwise there'll be too many cars and too much traffic coming all at once, and only so
Ms.
many.
Fuller,
can
your
be
time
on
is
their-
up, please.
Pardon me?
Your time is up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
With that, I don't see any hands raised, Chair.
All right. Fantastic. Okay, so now we're gonna move over to the main part of our agenda, and great job everyone getting all of the other pieces in under an hour. So this will give us some good time to actually get into the continuation of the Parks Commission retreat strategic planning session. And Donna, once again, thank you for joining us again to help facilitate this process as we continue to move forward. As many of you guys have been watching as we've been going through the last couple of retreats, we've been really trying to work on updating the work plan. And I think with our first couple of attempts at it, we at least got to a couple of consistent goals, but I think we need to work on getting wording for a couple of the new goals, as well as starting to dive a little bit deeper into some of those objectives and actions, right? And while I don't think success here is filling out every single one of the goals, objectives, and actions in the next hour and 10 minutes we have here, what I'm hoping to achieve today, and this time we can do it, is to at least be able to start to build out the primary goals, the objectives, and then start to build out those subcommittees. I think it's going to be very important, because once we get those subcommittees in place, then we can align on all of the actions and then really start to get more frequent updates in terms of where those projects and initiatives are. So really important stuff. And obviously it's been, quite a few sessions we've been spending on this, but I feel like it's time well spent if we can get this thing kicked off and then really be able to accelerate as we progress throughout the year into 2023. So with that, maybe Don, I'll hand it over to you to start kind of walking through maybe some of the feedback that
Sure.
that has been collected since we last met, and start hacking through some of these goals and objectives.
Great, sounds great. Hannah, could you share the presentation? Do you have that available? Great. So just a couple of quick screens, and then we're going to get to the plan, which I've incorporated the feedback from the commissioners.
Great.
So I think we're in pretty good shape, actually. So next slide, Hannah. So just for today, we're going to just quickly review the ground rules and the group agreements. Hopefully, we're going to finalize the goals, objectives, and activities or action steps. If not, the other option that we have is, if we feel like we're not going to be able to finish that tonight, we can go ahead and establish leads and subcommittee members, and we can provide direction that the subcommittees can finish the final action steps. We're going to look at calendaring discussion topics for future meetings, and then discuss any parking lot items. So with that, we'll go to the next slide. Just quickly, these were the group agreements: taking responsibility for inviting participation, staying on topic, encouraging questions, speaking respectfully, one at a time. So raising hands, allowing me to guide the process, and practicing, I think that Meta added this last time, practicing active listening. So everybody good with that? Great. Okay, so then Hannah, let's pull up the chart. Great. Oh.
It was up, then we lost it.
Sorry, Donna, did you want me to keep on the slideshow with those?
No, you can yeah, you can knock that one off, and we'll come back to it after we've gone through the chart. Thank you. Can everybody see this? Great. So I thought we would start with goal one. First, getting back to you, what is highlighted is yet to be reviewed. What I did was take the feedback received from the commissioners on the plan, and that is listed either as strikeout language or as new language in red. So as you can see for goal 1, we have the goal already established, no recommended changes. The objectives, 1.1, understand and support the Parks Department management and operational priorities. That was all good. That included equity and accessibility. And so in the action items, just to go over what the suggested language changes were, was to take out the once a new director is in place. And it would start with request and hear management and operational priorities presentation, including ways for the commission and the public to promote and support these priorities. Any concerns about that strikeout? We're all good? Okay. The next, it remains the same. 112 is contribute as helpful to strategic planning and refinement of priorities for future efforts. Commissioner Okello.
Could you make the screen a little larger?
Bigger?
Yeah, so we can read it.
Is that better?
Thank you. That's a lot better.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm gonna move this screen over here. Okay, the next is a strikeout and a replacement. So it was
So,
once in.
Hey,
go
could
ahead.
I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand, but
Okay,
could I step back just for a minute? And I'm sorry I missed a portion of the meeting where this was probably discussed, you know. So under the objective 1.1, understanding and supporting the Parks Department's management and operational priorities, e.g. major I think our charge is to really understand, 1, and then 2, you know, to provide recommendations to the board should we differ in terms of what those operational priorities should be. And so I think there needs to be mentioned there, as we are going to understand, but we are going to provide, you know, recommendations as far as those priorities, operational priorities are. And especially under when we start talking about, you know, the budgets, but you know, the forthcoming budgets and so on and so forth. So and so I would replace support with providing recommendations to the board vis-a-vis those operational priorities.
so Maida, just so you know, under 1.5, which is also, we haven't gotten to that one yet, but under 1.5, which is an action item, it talks about a presentation to the board in time to inform budget decisions for the next cycle.
Right.
So there's several places where there is items that talk about informing the board, but you want something separate.
And the reason I want it here, because I think our charge is to provide recommendations to the board about priorities. I think that's our charge. And I think this is probably the only place where we are mentioning operational priorities.
Okay,
So I think I
okay.
think it would be important for us to mention, yeah, you know, if we support, we'll say we support to the board. If we have little differences, then we'll say, you know, we'd love, you know, this to be more priority than this, you know, we should be able to do that, I think.
So then, Commissioner Kell, maybe then what you're suggesting is a merging of 1.1 and 1.5, and maybe Donna, you can show Commissioner Akello 1.5, because I think the spirit of it is there. I'm not sure if the actions are there. So yeah, so now seeing this, Commissioner Akello, do you think maybe we just merge those two into like one huge 1.1 that includes that piece?
Actually, a different, because 1.5 to me, Actually, you're right. We could, that captures it, develop and deliver commission
Updates and recommendations.
updates and recommendations.
Yeah.
And recommendations to the board, right?
Right.
I think if we combine those two, I think that
Okay.
it could assuage my concern.
So the suggestion is to combine 1.1 and 1.5? Or is that what you're requesting, Commissioner Okello?
That's what I'm agreeing with the chair in terms of his suggesting that.
Okay, so Commissioner Laguna, that was your recommendation to combine those.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not as concerned about where these things are kind of lined up, as long as A, the spirit is there, and B, we have the actual actions that kind of back it. I do agree with Commissioner Okello that this is part of the objective one, but where it goes in the objectives, merging, not merging, I'm not as concerned about. But if it is something that we should put it as our 1-1, so to speak, right? Just to show the importance of it, I'm actually fine with merging those two.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we'll is there any objection to doing that? Any other discussion? So I'm happy to wordsmith something that combines those two, so it would be understand and support, as well as develop and deliver commission updates associated, maybe updates and recommendations to the board.
Yeah, and then for now, pending any changes, 151 and is there a 152?
Yep. We'll
Yeah, we would just load them up there, and then we'll
Yeah,
figure out where to do it.
Great. Okay. Okay, so Hannah, if we can go back up then, and we'll look at 1.113. Again, that was a strikeout. Once a new director is in place, request the department leadership consider development of performance targets and metrics. I believe those have been developed. So a replacement would be contribute is helpful on the alignment, reporting, and measurement of current parks adopted performance measures to demonstrate parks' contribution to county health, well-being, safety, and equitability. Does that work for folks in terms of a replacement? Okay, seeing no hands.
Yes, I think that sounds fine. And I'm glad that it's its own item.
Okay.
That's a good idea, whoever had that.
Yeah, I think it sounds fine.
Great, thank you. Then 1.14 is this remains, so contribute as helpful to development of department targets and metrics. And then 1.15.
I'm not sure what that means. Contribute.
As helpful. Making recommendations.
I'm sorry, just as you're answering that, could you also answer 1.14 now in 1.13?
Yeah, you're correct. Again, I was putting in suggestions, and so it seems to be redundant. It seems to be absolutely contained in 1.13. So let's remove 1.11 or 1.14, unless anybody has any objection. Okay, and then the next one was on, again, request a presentation on department's budget that shows how it's designed to achieve department management and operational priorities and where gaps remain. So that was removed to receive ongoing updates on county's park budget and how it's being deployed against department objectives, including any gaps. So that was a suggested change by one of the commissioners. Any discussion? Objections?
No objection.
I know somebody needs to explain that to me as a commission action item. And I may be belaboring around the language.
It means, so how I would read this is that that it means the commission is going to receive from the Parks Department ongoing updates on the budget and how they're deploying it against the objectives. And they're going to let you know if there's any gaps between, again, the budget as well as what the objectives are.
Yeah, and maybe it's a situation where we say we're reviewing ongoing updates and provide recommendations on, you know, how budget is deployed, right? So then, and I don't know, Commissioner Kell, if that's what you're kind of hinting at, that it's less of an action and more of like receiving seems a little, yeah.
Yeah, receiving seems to be a little lame for me. Reviewing.
Yeah.
Reviewing.
Yeah,
I think
I like that.
Is a much stronger action item. We're going to review on ongoing updates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is everybody good with that? We'll change the receive to reviewing.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Okay. Commissioner Mariles, assuming you're good.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's move next. So now we're at 1.2. We have promote parks programs efforts that promote the health, well-being, and safety of county residents, as well as equitable and diverse access to the parks. There was a comment, input from one of the commissioners about adding an equity and access related objective. So I didn't know if the request was to, because this has, as well as equitable and diverse access to the county parks in the objective, if there was a desire to add something else.
That was my comment. And I think what I meant was like maybe in the actions.
Action item. Okay,
sorry,
perfect.
I got the language
No
wrong,
worries.
but,
no worries. That's good. Just want to make sure that I did, you know, that I cover all of the comments that we received. So looking at the action items for 1.2, we retained the previous one of request presentation on fuel reduction and any other hazard mitigation programs that enhance public safety, including benchmarks, current performance, and ways to support those programs and provide feedback. We have a new suggested one, and I believe this is a replacement. So it's just wordsmithed a little bit differently, where it says ongoing review of benchmarks and current performance of fuel reduction and other hazard mitigation plans, spend, and programs that enhance public safety. Support these programs as helpful and provide recommendations to the Board of Supervisors as necessary. So that would be a replacement for 1.2.1. I think this language is just talks about providing recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. It includes that.
Okay. Again, I like the term ongoing review.
Okay.
You know, better than just requesting a presentation.
Okay.
You know, because that tells me, yeah, we're gonna get the presentation, but we're gonna review it and then you're gonna make certain decisions. So I like the 1.21.
Okay. Any opposition to the new one?
The red one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, fine.
Okay.
and for me.
Great. Okay, and then the 1.22 is revised to receive updates instead of request presentation on IDEA initiative, interpretive strategic plan implementation, visitor services, and equity, provide recommendations to the Board of Supervisors as needed.
Again, I would change that to review updates.
Okay. Any comments on that?
So I think this like speaks to the thing about like making equity more broadly than just idea called out in the plan, which I like. I just want to ask the department, Hannah or Nicholas, if you could speak to like, does this encompass kind of the world of equity efforts? Like is there something else that should be included here that would be relevant to this like subject area?
Before I ask them, I want to just, Hannah, can you scroll down to 1.2.6?
I was just going to ask you to do that because I realized
okay.
that
So this could be one.
Yeah.
This is a recommendation, maybe monitoring progress on DEI metrics and driving programs to improve performance against metrics. So something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, so my question to the department stands, but then I also have one to the fellow commissioners about like, I mean, so there's a couple of actions that are about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then should that be its own objective? Like we have it now called in 1.2 as well as blah, 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 but that could just be its own objective. And then there would be like actions against that. And that would be kind of a concerted effort there. It might, I guess I'm thinking just out loud that might help with like division of labor amongst us, that not all of these kinds of like programmatic things fall under 1.2 for like subcommittee or whatever, however we align ourselves. But would love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, I can weigh in on it. I think what I was thinking about was looking at the current objective of 1.2, which hasn't changed, right? Which seems like an all-encompassing one, right? So I just kind of, you know, went the well-worn path and just decided to shove it in there. But I think it's interesting, you know, especially if we want to kind of highlight this to potentially make it its own objective, but then we just got to carve it out of 1.2, right? Because 1.2 seems like the superset of like the health, well-being, equitable and diverse access, right? So maybe if we wanted to do that, maybe we would just cut it into 2 and take out the, I don't know if it's be the equitable and diverse access to county parks from 1.2 and break it into its own objective.
I think I would agree with Commissioner Green's suggestion. I think we need to carve that out, you know, because there's a visitor study that the most recent visitor study that was done identified equity and access as a real big problem. So I think we need to isolate it and have it as a very clear objective, you know, with its own action plan.
Okay. I think that's fair. What do the other commissioners think?
I think that's true. Yeah, I don't know exactly how to format that.
Okay,
Yeah.
Hannah, can we go back up to the objective? So my understanding is that you want to have a separate, so like a 1.3, right?
Mm-hmm.
An objective
Yeah,
that would be specific to equity and access.
Correct.
So does that mean it would be taken out of 1.2?
I think if we're doing that, we would, right? We'd take that last,
Okay,
whatever's
right,
after
you
that
would.
last comma, right? And just kind of
Okay,
add
Yeah,
that and maybe
makes
some other
sense.
wording.
okay.
Yeah.
So it could be like ensuring equitable and diverse access to the county parks. And then you have specific items under that.
Right.
At least that 126 or whatever we end up agreeing on. Yep.
Okay, equitable. I'm just writing this down so I can make sure that I don't miss it.
Yeah, so what's now 1.2.2 and 1.2.6 would be actions under it. And then I guess that we had heard, I think last time, how the department will be in its like racial equity planning efforts, first looking internally and then externally. Sorry, silent practice in the background. So I don't know.
I have a suggestion on that.
Okay.
In case you this could be a possibility as an action item to review updates on how the department focus on PI is supporting inclusive practices and championing the principles of equity ways
Lovely.
for employees and parks customers.
Yes. Love that.
That work for people?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So we will add that as the
like you've done this before.
Actually, just on it, I'm on another board and we were looking at that. So I just thought that to me, it was well thought out. I thought I would suggest it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So let's go back then to, well, let's go down, Hannah, right. So stop there, I think. So 1.2.3, we'll add that one as a new action item, but let's go back to the ones that are currently here. So we have 1.2.3. this was just modified somewhat, suggested to be modified. Request presentation on programs that promote health and well-being, including ways to promote, support, and grow, if needed, those programs. Provide recommendations to the Board of Supervisors as necessary. Are we okay with that one? Are there any suggestions?
I know we are using this term review, but I think because the action item is beyond just requesting. The action item is that we're gonna get those presentations and we're gonna review programs that
review.
Yeah, and
Okay.
well-being, including ways to promote, support, and grow if needed those programs.
How about
Okay.
review and suggest programs? We don't want to just take
Good
everything
point.
that comes to us. Yeah, we want to, we may
Good.
have to suggest something and be more proactive.
Very good. I accept that.
Any other commissioner comments on that? So what we have, review and suggest programs, and everything else will remain as is. Okay. The next is working with Parks Department. That stays the same, working with Parks Department staff to develop a standard set of information regarding population served for programmatic presentations. And
It
then
seems like maybe that now falls under the equity one, right? Is that redundant? I don't know.
is that specific to equity and access, you think? Certainly we can renumber it.
I think that was the intent. So
Okay.
but what do other people think? I think it could be covered and we could have one less thing, or it could be an action, another action under the forthcoming equity one. I think that was the idea with this one, was right to like understand
Right.
who's being served in whatever way the department's data could support.
Yep.
So and I think that might be the same for the next one too, with the Youth Commission. I don't know. So
The Youth Commission, that liaison thing was just its own
okay.
like partnership, like it was a place to park that,
Okay.
as there is one for the Parks Foundation. I think just needed somewhere to live. So
what I'm hearing is the 1.25 stays where it is, but the 1.24, any objections to moving that, incorporating it under the equity and access new objective? Chair Laguna,
I think that's fine.
you're okay with that? Okay, great. Okay, so we already added, the specific diversity, equity, and inclusion action, and I'll go ahead and put that in. So 1.3 and 1.4 and their associated action items, but the objectives remain the same. Does anybody have any concerns about leaving those in the way they are? We good? Okay, not seeing any hands raised. Great.
Good.
Okay. Hannah, we'll move to the next page. Oh, here we go. So this one, the change was we added a 1.5.2, and this is, we had, if you recall, the discussion about there is a requirement to submit an annual report of the commission's activities to the Board of Supervisors.
Correct.
So we added that. Any concerns about the language or adding that in? Everybody's good with that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is that?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's very
okay.
Concise.
Great. Okay. So now we're moving on to 2. So 2.1 remained the same. Develop recommendations for comprehensive fee strategy for county parks uses, and the action item was suggested. Well, remove the request presentation on in progress consultant recommendations once completed. I believe that work is done. Is that correct? So the remaining action item was to support
I
development.
think it was, sorry, I think it was, isn't this the work that was never done, but it's also like
Oh,
not gonna
wasn't going
happen?
to be
Yeah,
done. Wasn't going to be
exactly.
done. Sorry, my apologies.
No,
my
it's okay.
apologies.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure. If
No,
it
no,
was done, I thought we would hear it at that time, but I think it got
Yep, you're correct.
tabled and postponed and now. Not.
Are correct.
Direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have the remaining action item is to support development of a feasible and holistic fee strategy for approval by the commission and recommendation to the board. And again, you didn't have any changes to that last time and no recommend.
I just have the note. I think this is like a little bit out of our control. And we rely on the department to tell us if this is a role
Something
we're
to-
being, we had this conversation last time where like, I think commission believes this is a thing we should hear and have a recommendation on, but I also know in practice it's gone now to a board working group. And so
Okay.
like you
Right.
tell us if this is a waste of time to have on here.
Nick, do you have can you weigh in on that?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, John. So I think it would be appropriate at this time for the department to keep the commission informed of board action or board desires, but I would agree with Commissioner Green that at this point, the commission made a recommendation to the board. The board decided to go in a different direction and to further study this at the board at a board subcommittee level. And so I think that's where this will reside, but I'm happy to keep the commission informed. And if there's an opportunity to bring something to the commission for feedback and for the commission to make a recommendation to the board, then I'm certainly happy to do that. But it's unclear at this point if, how the board subcommittee is going to want to proceed.
Okay.
So I through the chair, I got a question. Are there gonna be other cases in which, the Board of Supervisors, and they certainly do have that prerogative, take on an issue, that may fall under, our range of responsibilities. And so wouldn't that sort of require, to some extent, our commission being intimately knowledgeable about the activities of the board, especially on items that may fall under our umbrella, so that we create that permanent, I don't know how to put it, but create a sort of permanent, clearer channel whereby, we know what they're doing, and they obviously know what we're doing because we're going to be reporting to them on a regular basis. But if they are taking on something that falls out under our umbrella, how do we maintain information as to what's going on in terms of those items? Would that necessarily necessitate, for instance, requesting a report from staff, since they do have to attend all of the meetings and they get all the agenda items, to just keep us informed about things that the board may be doing, that may fall within our plate, so to speak.
Through the chair, Commissioner O'Kelly, I think we'll have to explore that a little further. And here's the reason why I say that. And Donna may have some great insight to this as well, but typically commissions have board liaisons and work with the board liaisons on situations that you just described. And so I think we need to explore that before I could really give you a clear answer. But I would say briefly that I would say I don't see this as being the one and only example in which this case happens. And I do think there probably needs to be some awareness that
Oh, we lost you.
Uh-oh.
I thought it was a dramatic pause, but I think it's a little bit longer than
We
that.
lost you at the end, Nick. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Essentially, all I was saying was, once it gets to the board level, I think we need to just keep in mind that it's a fluid process at that point, because supervisors may want to have something go to the board quickly. They may want to go back out to the public. They may want to send it back to the commission. We just need to be respectful that, at the end of the day, the board is the decision-making entity. And so I take my lead from them in that regard.
But through the chair, you made an important point, that each commission has a board liaison. So in our action plan, really, we should have an objective of knowing who that board liaison is, and probably having the chair and the vice chair, either one or both, maintaining constant contact and reporting back to the commission on a quarterly or regular basis. You know what I'm saying?
Just if I could weigh in here, actually not every board has a board liaison, right? So I think maybe, Nick, we can explore with Connie what the requirements are regarding, how they make decisions about which commissions have liaisons, and maybe report back to this commission on what we find, or I'm saying we, but Nick, what we find out, right? Because I know that not all commissions have a liaison. So maybe we need to explore that.
Donna,
Yeah,
I think that's right.
and I also think that, and as we get into goal 5, right, which is talking about some of the, well, at least my edits had it talking a little bit about increasing access to information and being able to publish more stuff, right? Maybe we can kind of shove something in there that will allow, because if Commissioner Raquel, I'm reading this right from you, it's to make sure that we're working effectively with the board liaison, so that information that is, that's relevant to the Parks Department, to what the Board of Supervisors is doing, and other things are being kind of brought to the commission, right? So maybe we can do some wording, maybe in this one, in the increased transparency as well. I don't know. We can do it either way, or add another goal, or do whatever. But yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, you might even have it as an action item or an objective to explore the possibility of being assigned a board liaison.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'd agree with the chair. I think putting it there would be fine.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's, I'm making a note of that, but let's go back up. Okay, so the next is 3.1, ensuring access to fish and game propagation funds. And this remains the same. Consider a recommendation for readoption of a citizens advisory committee regarding fish, game, and wildlife policies. Any suggested changes to that? Is that still relevant?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question around. I know last time we talked about it, there was a thought that this might be coming back, right? I hadn't heard about it in the year plus I've been here, but is this still kind of an ongoing concern? And maybe this is to Director Calderon, and I'm assuming we'll keep this on there at worst as a placeholder, but I wasn't sure if anything had changed since we last talked.
Chair Laguna, I think the citizens advisory, the way other jurisdictions and counties use the citizen advisory committee is what the Park Commission is in San Mateo County. So the citizen advisory committee for other jurisdictions is a body in which requests for funding can be heard and recommendations can be made to those jurisdictions decision makers. In our case, it would be the Board of Supervisors. I personally think the commission meets that role, and I don't think a new entity really needs to be formed in order to consider those requests and make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors to allocate those funds. in my opinion, that's what the commission is here to do.
So then what action then would we be doing with respect to this? And once again, this is just knowing nothing about this because, you know, in the last year, we haven't really spoken at all about you know, these funds or how we use them. Is it to, you know, similar to maybe some of the other actions to kind of review kind of the requests and like the funding that gets kind of granted? Or yeah, what do you think would be a relevant kind of action with respect to this?
Through the chair, I may be able to shed some light, and perhaps
Yeah, that'd be great.
Mr. Commissioner Mireles could also help me here. I think there was mention of a concern that this fund seems to be going to just one particular agency every year. And so I think there was some concern that there may be some other entities that are sort of being, either they do not know those funds exist, or for whatever reason, we're not getting as many applications as we probably think we should be getting, so that we are making an informed decision. If we have several applicants, then we can review all of them and then make a decision. Are we going to spread the funds between the 3 or 4 of them? Or are we just going to fund one of the 3 or 4? And so it may again. Actually, I think that was the primary concern. Now, how do we make people know that you know, these funds are available, so we get more applications than the ones I've been getting in previous years? And Neil, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. It's as I remember it, it's a small amount of money, so not a ton of people are going to be interested in it. And the group that's been getting it gets a lot of benefit for a small amount of money. They buy baby fish at like a penny a piece or something, so they get tens of thousands of fish, and they have matching funds that they gather their own, and they put them in to the ecosystem. So that has been a very good use of fines from poaching. It just seems like that's been a pretty good fit. If somebody comes up with a better idea to use that money, I think that would be great to hear about it at the Parks Commission. But it's a small amount of money. It's kind of a quick little thing that takes one small part of one meeting a year. So I don't think it's worth having a separate committee or yeah, I mean, there are a million little grants that the Parks Department gets, you know, like this one that Michelle was talking about for trails. And you don't necessarily want to just form a subcommittee to go over every, you know, $1,000 dispersal of money. So yeah, I think this is a minor thing that we just handle at a regular meeting, and it's not even a blip.
Yeah. So would the action be to just?
Through the chair, we are talking about 2 issues here, I think. I think the issue of a citizen advisory committee, I thought that had sort of been settled, because I think the commission is serving as that body. So that that action item is basically out. But it leaves the fact that we do have a certain amount of money, however small it is, and it's available for fish and game related stuff. And historically, we've given it one entity because it's been convenient. You know, they're doing exceptional work and so on and so forth. And so the question, you know, from the public's perspective and the public transparency perspective, whether it's 1 penny or $1 or $10,000, I think the public needs to know that those funds are available. And these are requirements you need to meet if you're going to apply for.
So is it just simply the action item is to annually approve the expenditures of this fund rather than to readopt a citizens advisory to make something like that?
I was thinking it should be to like increase awareness. And once again, to Commissioner Merrill's point, maybe it's like, you know, one item on one meeting per year where we say, hey, this thing's up again, you know, get in your request by whatever time frame, right? And then maybe we do a follow-up once the funds have been approved or have been kind of granted out. But it would seem to me that it would be more of like an awareness thing, just to make sure the public and other folks are aware of what it is that or the timelines for applying for this thing, and then once they get kind of doled out, where it actually went to.
Yeah.
Maybe we could put a notice on our website for issues like this, dispersals or applications or. I don't know, but
and maybe the action is just to increase awareness of the process, and then just call it.
Yeah, I put ensure awareness.
Yes.
I'll just say, okay, of the process to apply, as well as how funds are dispersed. Is that what I'm hearing? I can make something.
That seems reasonable
For you
enough
to react to, if that's the two. So you're wanting to increase awareness about how to apply and what the timelines are, and then you also want to increase awareness of where the money is going.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay, I'll come up with something.
But without the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Right,
Yes.
got that. I have that. I crossed that out. Okay, terrific. Great. Okay, moving on to goal 4. So this is where we had, thank you, perfect. Can we go up just a little bit? Yep. So this is one where we had some recommendations on the goal language. So moving from explore and strengthen partnerships to expand equitable utilization and access to county parks, to strengthen partnerships with local and regional organizations to increase visibility, provide equitable utilization, and improve access to county parks. Any comments on that? Everybody's good with the change? Okay, hearing. Yeah, I think it's a really good change. Then for 4.1, it's just a little bit of wordsmithing, putting, instead of strengthen relationship, it would be build stronger partnership between the commission and the foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Sound good? Okay. Any other comments? Okay. I'm going to assume that you'll raise your hands if you want to weigh in, and otherwise, if I don't hear, I'm gonna assume that's a yes. And then a new objective, which is strengthen the relationship between local, regional parks, commissions, and groups. So that would be an addition and a complement to strengthening partnerships, the strengthening partnerships goal. Okay. And then the objectives under that, so 4.11, support Parks Foundation with attendance at events and development of content for online social media campaigns. We're good with that.
And I can provide a little bit more on that, because that was my change. I was just kind of spitballing there, right? So and once again, just given that I've been part of the Parks Foundation, I know that a lot of what and I don't know if Michelle's still on. Maybe she can weigh in on it, right? But I know that there's always a need for folks to kind of attend events, and I know that there's been a big push for content on like social media and some other online areas, things like the photo contests and all these other things that have been going on. So I thought it would be good to have an action. And once again, I don't know if this needs to be a subcommittee or just all of us kind of go ahead and do it, but really help the Parks Foundation in whatever way is needed. So I don't think that's kind of inclusive of everything. I was just kind of throwing out a couple things that I thought could be interesting. And I don't know if Michelle is still on. If there are other things that make sense, it would be great to kind of see what else we might be able to help on.
Michelle?
Thanks, Commissioner Laguna. Yeah, I think the more we can connect with commissioners, especially in your community, in your parks, is great. We do plan on holding more events, more hikes. We would like to do more tabling. So please, if you want to, for example, the Coyote Point Eastern Promenade open house on May 20th, it would be great to see commissioners out there. We'll be out there. So there's a lot of opportunities, and we are more than happy to connect on that. And in terms of social media, yeah, I mean, we love promoting the parks online and are always open to things. So go ahead and send your suggestions our way, and we'd be happy to consider posting it online. So all of that sounds great, and always happy to talk more about that.
Thank you, Michelle. Any other comments? Commissioner Green, did you have a comment?
I just had I thought development of content, like maybe the foundation does that and we circulate it, but when Chair Laguna was talking about what he meant by that sounded no.
Okay.
I think it means all of the above, right? And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, on one, right, if whoever has social media accounts, like, forward, do whatever, right? And then, yeah, if there are other pieces or other things that make sense, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Got the thumbs up from Michelle. Yeah, so I think it's all of the above, wherever we can help kind of promote the Parks Foundation. I think we should just try to figure out how we might be able to do it. So.
Perfect. Okay. Any other further comment on that?
Just may want to change the word then development to promotion, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I think content development's a job.
Yep.
Big.
That's right. You're right. That's a loaded phrase. You're right.
Okay, great. Okay, I will change that then to promotion. Next action item 4.2.1, establish relationships with local San Mateo County Parks groups and attend relevant meetings, communicate work being done by commission, and partner with groups to increase visibility and usage of parks across San Mateo County. Chair Laguna, do you want to talk a little bit about that one?
Yeah. Actually, this was and it ended up being a run-on sentence, but I was just trying to capture kind of the fact that while obviously the Parks Foundation is one of the big partnerships that we have, there are a whole host of community groups and other groups that we may or may not, and in some cases, right, we may already have established relationships with. I almost see this as an extension or expansion of some of the stuff that was on the previous work plan. But the point of this was to basically figure out or have, like, I guess, a little bit more direct kind of action in terms of actively kind of seeking out and working with other park related groups so that folks understand what's going on in the commission and really be able to kind of once again promote, increase the visibility and usage of San Mateo County parks in general.
Great. Commissioner O'Kello, you had your hand up.
Yes, I'd wanted this one to be on there specifically because I think I mentioned at one of the previous meetings that, and Neil may remember this. Neil is probably the only person on the commission that may remember this. I think there's one year in which we hosted, the commission hosted all the Parks and Recreation Commission from all the cities in the county.
Mm-hmm.
And we had sort of a get to know each other, talk about what it is that we're doing and so on and so forth. And it was the commission's initiative to do that. And it's a clear illustration of seeking to establish the relationship with local park groups so that they know what we're doing. And we also know what it is that they're doing. And so, for instance, seeing something like that happen, not necessarily every year, but something that would happen every other year, in terms of getting all these groups together at a breakfast, I think it would be a great event.
Okay, great. And Commissioner Manning.
I want to really have a critical focus point and really echo what fellow commissioner and brother Kello said, that it's not about, obviously COVID is the primary reason, health and safety concerns, but it just would be extravagant if you hosted a breakfast or maybe a barbecue or kind of something that would instill upon our commission, and people would say, wow, San Mateo County Park and Rec County commissioners developed this, thought hardly and and put this thing together. And if you kind of bridge, you're basically bringing an entity together and saying, look, we want to work together and we'd like to have some type of a voice in county parks, and we kind of want to work together in the future. I mean, I hope that, once this, hopefully not another surge, another wave happens where we're, locked in again. But I mean, I think that would be a great idea, as Commissioner Okello alluded to. I mean, if we have a get together, or kind of like a parents' night type thing, and whatever you want to compare it to, more and more people will start noticing what we do.
Great. So it sounds like, Commissioner Mama, you have some passion around that. So when it comes to priorities, that may be something that you want to work on. It sounds like you have a lot of interest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. Terrific. Well, thanks for the comments. Anybody else? Okay. So moving to 4.2.2, this is another new one: ensuring representation in cross-jurisdictional parks projects like Bay Area Ridge Trail and local 30 by 30 initiatives. Any comments on that one?
Yeah, maybe because I added that one as well. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Don't be
and
sorry.
once again, I don't think this was intended to be, once again, a complete list of all of the things. But in addition to kind of the stuff that's fully within San Mateo County, or fully within the parks system, I felt like it would be good to kind of expand our reach into some of these other ones. I know. As part of the Parks Foundation, there are a lot of other things like the Bay Area Ridge Trail. There was like the naming of some of the trails and whatnot, as well as I've been reading a little bit about some of those 30 by 30 initiatives, which I think there's some representation in San Mateo County of the 30 by 30, but I wasn't sure, and if I'm not aware, I'm sure maybe some of the other commissioners are, but I thought it would be good to have one line item to kind of house some of these I call them cross jurisdiction. I don't know if that's the right way to kind of put it, but for stuff that may not just be a San Mateo County thing, right, and broader kind of parks initiatives as well.
Great.
Yeah, through the chair. When I read that, I thought essentially what your desire or what the statement of desire is that there are cross-jurisdictional park projects currently, and commission members, the Parks and Recreation Commission is not represented at all.
Yes.
So people are gonna be asked to volunteer to be part of some cross-jurisdictional projects and so on and so forth, so that whatever those activities are, they can gather the information and report back to the commission. So that was my understanding of it. But then you mentioned a little something else in your comment that reminded me of Neil Mirales's project of the whole thing about renaming facilities within our parks as an effort to meet our goal 4 of strengthening partnerships and expanding equitable utilization of communities that have not been as represented. So we were talking about renaming certain facilities, giving them Native American names, so that's going to open up doors in terms of ease with which Native Americans are going to come and visit some of our parks. I thought that is not captured by the 4.2.2.
Yeah.
And so then the question then is, should we have a 4.2.3 that specifically addresses that concern that Neil Miralles has brought to our attention?
Or even elevate it to 4.3, right? I mean, that we could do either one.
Yes.
Yep.
So can we discuss that a little bit more?
Yeah, could I?
It looks like Neil has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Neil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead, Neil.
I think this is great. 4.2.2, it says cross-jurisdictional parks projects like the Ridge Trail. There are many trails that are cross-jurisdictional. Most important thing in a trail is that it's continuous, because we put it in little sections of trail and then they stop. And then they start again somewhere else, like the coastal trail, for instance. It goes, it stops, it goes, and it would be worth so much more if it was continuous. And the the Ohlone Portola
Yep.
Trail will be similar in that it'll go through a private property, county property, MROSD property, post property, Santa Cruz County property. But the hard thing to do is to make it continuous, and that is a cross-jurisdictional issue that is so important. And so I'm almost wondering if the 4.2.2 could be a little more broad and say that we support continuity in trails within San Mateo County parks, within San Mateo County, and even across the boundaries of San Mateo County to promote continued continuity or continuity in trails, because it's having a trail that is not continuous because of a jurisdictional issue is common and problematic. And if we could work as a group to work on that issue, I think that would be very important.
Would it be okay to just say ensure representation across jurisdictional parks, projects, and continuity of trails?
And promote continuity in trails, maybe.
Okay.
Because I think that's the key. It's often the problem is that it's cross jurisdictional.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe the
sorry is continuity.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to that point, right, you were talking about having something a little bit more kind of not vague, but like kind of open. Maybe we should push that out then to an objective as opposed to an action, right? Because I do think it's important to make sure, first and foremost, we have some representation, right? Because right now, I mean, other than what we do in our lives in between these meetings, right? There's no like directive to actually make sure that we have representation across some of those, right? So maybe we do another objective that talks about kind of promoting the continuity, on some of these cross-jurisdictional things. One, maybe 4.3.1 is ensure the representation, and 4.3.2 is something with respect to making sure that we're working to kind of drive that continuity, right? It just feels like the way that you described it, Commissioner Merrilees, that it should be kind of a broader objective as opposed to an action. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay.
So Commissioner Merrilee, would you be willing to take a stab at it? If it was an objective, that'd be
Sure.
Thank you. Great. So I'm going to put a little star and say that's coming from Commissioner Merrilee. Okay, great. Let's move. This is our last goal. Oh, do I have another hand? Commissioner Okello, you still have your hand up, or is that from before? Or?
No, I changed my mind about saying something. So.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna talk to Neil, and between he and I, we can work on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Great. Okay. Let's move to goal 5. So this is our final and new goal. So again, remember we just talked originally about something around increasing transparency. So we've changed the recommended goal language is to increase public transparency and visibility of county parks departments' plans and initiatives. Any thoughts about that?
I have a thought about just in 5.1.1. I don't know if I feel like overhaul is kind of, I don't know if it needs an overhaul. We'll just work with the department on the commission website to make all relevant documents, you know what I mean? Just want to make sure that it's easy to find, but
come on, Commissioner Green. I was trying to be provocative there.
no, not
no,
me.
I agree. That makes sense.
Thanks.
Okay. To update, would we put instead of overhaul, update? Is that okay?
I think you can just say work with the department on the Parks Commission website.
Okay.
because the objective is in the stuff to follow website.
Okay, great. So does that, I just want to make sure, is everybody okay with the goal 5 language, the goal itself? And then the next is the objectives. So there's a couple of options. One is to improve public access to commission materials, or another suggestion was to publish and improve access to commission materials and documents. Any preference?
I think we do publish some. I just want to acknowledge that like the documents do come. It's just some don't. Like the required ones do, and then the things that are subject to discussion do. So I don't know which language better addresses that issue.
Other commissioners?
So through the chair, so goal number 5, I'd reword it because, I don't think we need the word public, because we're already public. So it's just transparency.
Okay.
It's not like there's private transparency in the work that we do. So increased transparency and visibility of county parks, plans, and initiatives.
Okay.
Yeah, and it may not even be just the county parks department, because it's going to be the board of supervisors are ultimately, going to approve all of those plans. So increased transparency and visibility of county parks, plans, and initiatives.
Okay. Anybody have any objections to that? Are we good with that? Okay. So the objective 5.1, any more discussion on which objective seems to fit? Commissioner Okello, is your hand still up from the last time, or is this?
Oh no, this was a previous time. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'm sorry. Has anybody no raised hands? Chair Laguna, any preference?
Nope. I think they basically say the same thing. So if someone has a desire one way or another, yeah, it's that. I think the spirit is there. So that's all that really matters.
Okay. So I think we already published. I think Commissioner Green's comment is correct. So I think improved public access to commission materials should work. Commissioner Okello.
I was at a recent meeting where a point was brought forth that, there are a lot of people in today's world who have no access to the internet, and some of whom may not even have the desire to have access to the internet. And so we don't have any idea as to how many there are. We don't have any idea at all. And so if we focus, on providing public access, we need to think about providing beyond just the website, or at least make an attempt to find out. Perhaps we could provide physical documents at some location where people can come pick them up. But I think we need to think along those lines, especially since we don't have an answer to the question as to, when you talk about the county population, how many of them can access, have the ability to access our website, and how many do not? And for the ones that don't, how do we meet our goal of transparency and visibility?
So I'm just going to weigh in on just my experience with the commissions. The other commissions I've worked with is we don't typically, because of just the amount of time and effort, make materials printed available at different sites. What we typically do is ask people to go to public areas like the library, where they can download the information and print it. Because in terms of trying to print materials and distribute them all over the county, that's going to be a huge lift, from department staff. So that's just my experience. But I understand, that the transparency is not just about the internet, because there are people that do not have access, right? Okay. So 5.2 is working with the department to ensure items brought before the commission include sufficient data for informed decision making. There was one suggestion that we might want to change that wording. Any comments or suggestions, if that is the case, what the change wording should be? And if not, is there any objections to keeping it as it is?
Fine with me.
I think it looks good.
Okay, great. Okay, and then finally, our action items for 5. So 5.1.1, we already worked on changing that to work with the department on the commission website to make all relevant documentation publicly available and ensure materials are published in a timely manner. Are we good with that? Seeing nodding heads for those that I can see. 5.2.1 is create schedule of park budget and initiative updates, time to provide feedback prior to Board of Supervisors decision making. Any feedback on that one? And then finally, 5.2.2, develop consistent standards for monthly Parks Department packages and updates. Somebody want to speak to that one, that recommendation?
Yeah, I can do it. So yeah, it's basically, I know there's been a lot of feedback about ensuring that there are like standard things that are kind of put in updates, whether it be Director Calderon, your monthly kind of update. It feels like we have kind of had some standard, right, in terms of like the updates and things like that. I think the point was just around making sure that there was, that folks had like a standard expectation of what like an update would be, right, from the Parks Department, or if there's some stuff that we're providing updates on, that there's a standard for folks that folks can expect. And once again, I don't know how much work needs to get done in order to make that happen. I just felt like it's something that we should just align on and then be able to kind of move forward on.
So hearing you, it sounds like it would be something that you would work with the department on, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so
that's right.
You may be working with the department to develop consistent standards.
Yeah. I think that would be fair.
Okay. Any comments on that? Great. Okay, Commissioner Laguna, I want to be mindful of the time, and we are a little bit after 6. What is your pleasure?
Well, I'm just shocked that we actually got through 5 of the goals in the allotted time. So this is an embarrassment of riches. It looks like Commissioner Keller though has a hand up.
Yes, Commissioner Keller.
There is something that I've been thinking about, and I've thought about it ever since I got appointed to the commission. The department has several administrative districts. And so for a long time, even up until now, I still get confused if I see in a report that says District 4 and mention which parks are in District 4. And I know those districts were established prior to supervisorial districts being established. Now we do have 5 districts, and they're also called districts. And so we really have no idea as to what parks are in what districts and so on and so forth. And it sometimes becomes extremely confusing. And I don't think that, I may be wrong, at least in our department, in the Parks Department, there's not been an effort, to, let's consolidate those districts into these 5 supervisorial districts. So is that something that the commission would be willing to work on? especially to, to help us with this increased transparency. And I think the question has been raised multiple times that more money is being spent over there than is being spent over here, and there's all this money, we need to share this money equally and so on and so forth. And I think that question is more relevant to the supervisorial district than to the administrative districts, I think. So
I'm just going to weigh in really quickly, just again, and Nick, you probably will want to weigh in, but I would assume that the districts, the parks districts were formed with specific criteria in mind, and not necessarily because they're also, from what I understand, there's park staff that are assigned to districts, so there's a lot of thought that goes into what are the resources necessary to support the parks, the district. So I don't know, I would think if you did it by supervisorial district, there might be, like on the coast, it would be like huge. But anyway, but Nick, feel free to weigh in.
Yeah, Donna, thank you. So park districts are based on geographic locations and territory. They're based on where we have centralized facilities that can support operations. They're based on proximity to one another. They're based on types of uses. And so we don't align our park districts with our supervisorial districts for a variety of reasons, one of which is every 10 years, the supervisorial district changes. And for us, we can't be changing our operations every 10 years to account for what type of changes will be made to supervisorial districts. But the other thing is we really need to be focused first and foremost on our operations. So for example, Neil, I apologize for using you as the example, but supervisorial district 3 spans everywhere as far north as Pacifica and as far south as the San Mateo County, Santa Cruz County line. That territory is just too far for us to span operationally in an efficient and effective way. So we have to look at where our facilities are and base our districts off of that. But also as new properties come online, we also have to be willing and able to look at our district system and make revisions based on our operational needs. And then the last thing I'd say is that I think we as a department try to emphasize, and I would certainly encourage the commission to do the same, which is your park is not based on where you live. I will tell you that probably the park I use the most is Pillar Point Bluff, but I live on the Bay side. It is not Coyote Point. It is not Crystal Springs Trail. It's not the Bay Trail. And so we really need to get away from the idea that parks belong to certain supervisors or their constituents. County parks belong to county residents. And I think that's very much in line with something that Commissioner Merrilees is passionate about, which is it doesn't matter where you live, our parks belong to everyone.
Could I make a comment? I would disagree with you, only for the simple reason that perhaps all that we need to do is stop calling them districts. Or start calling them something else. There could still be the 7 of them, but give them some other name, because it's confusing. And if it's confusing to commissioners, you can imagine how confusing it is to the public when they look at the director's report and the director's report is talking about all these districts.
Let's put that on the agenda for a future. You can talk about this all night.
Yeah, look, I think, this is, I am just going to say, I think we're searching for a solution for a problem that doesn't exist on this. We need to be able to look operationally, and making changes like this that will make our administrative tasks harder because all of our files and our finances are broken into districts. Trying to start changing that, I think we're creating unnecessary work. And I think looking at the work plan that the commission has in front of them, I think there's probably 7, 8, 9, 15 probably higher priority things that the commission is going to have to focus on.
But you know, I've changed my mind. I'm not even talking about the dissolution of the 7 districts. I'm not even talking about that anymore. All I'm saying is that perhaps we should not call them districts. Because they predate the supervisorial districts. At one point, it was one, you know, it was every board of supervisors being elected at large. But then that changed, and they called, you know, those divisions districts, and it's just confusing to commissioners as well as to members of the public. And it may be just as simple as just changing the word districts to some other word.
To area.
That's all I'm saying. So let's put it on the agenda. I just wanted to put it on the action plan, but.
And that's certainly good. Commissioner O'Connor, just point of clarification. Even before supervisors were elected by a district and were elected at large, they still had districts.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing with you there.
Okay.
You know, you had those administrative districts, but the supervisors were elected at large, but now they're being elected. There are 5 districts, and you know, there's some confusion. You've got to admit that.
Commissioner Merrilees.
Yeah, I just wanted to sympathize with Nicholas. You're looking at this as a huge headache, and I don't intend to make any headaches for the Parks Department. So no, realizing that there is an issue in terms of transparency. It's common for somebody to say, I work in District 4, and I have to like think for a few minutes, you know, where that is. Are you talking about the parks, or are you talking about, both are important. The supervisorial districts in San Mateo County are very important, and the parks districts are very important. You know, if we called them, you know, District Blue or District Gold, because I'm a Cal fan, it could be as simple as that, and even that would be a tough thing to do, because you'd have to change files and you know, we don't want to make any changes to something like that unless you're really getting a big benefit out of it. But I think it'd be worth discussing at a Parks Commission meeting whether we could get a benefit simply and easily and without causing a headache to the people that work in the parks districts, because they know where they work now, and we don't want them to show up at the wrong park. And also for parks administration having to, we don't want to make problems. So yeah, I totally sympathize with that, but I think it'd be great to talk about it, and maybe there is a simple solution that could come up for the future.
Okay, so that's for Commissioner Laguna and to decide about how to agendize that, et cetera. Okay, so in terms of next steps, I did want to mention that I did not include in 5, but we did talk about adding a 5.3 that would be something about ensuring effective communication with the Board of Supervisors to ensure like understanding of parks priorities, and then that an action item would be potentially to explore the assignment of a board liaison to the commission.
Right.
That okay, just want to make sure that's still there. Okay, so I'm happy to put all this together. Commissioner Merrilees, you'll send me the language for the one. Yep. And send that back to Hannah, and then, you know, maybe at your next meeting it would be appropriate to look at, for everybody to think about, maybe we can get this out in advance, for everybody to think about, you know, what are they interested in working on? Yeah. And then be ready to just identify, these are the area, you know, these are the priorities, and these are the areas. Not have to have a committee for each one, you know, but what do you, again, have passion and interest in, and what would you like to work on?
Yep. And one quick question on that one. So, and this is maybe to Hannah or Director Calderon. Did we get updates from all the commissioners as okay. So yes, then that is a good next step. Looks like Commissioner Green has her hand up.
Yes, Commissioner Green.
I was just going to say, like, are we allowed to, like, given all the notes from this meeting, like we are all here, we heard the plan, like, can people just report in to the chair not like in discussion, but everybody puts in theirs, and then can the chair like make assignments for next time? Like, do we need to discuss it again, or can we just express our preference at this point?
Certainly might expedite things, Chair Laguna, if folks could weigh in on that in advance, and then you could create some sort of a chart.
No, and that was the intent when Hannah had sent out the original request for feedback, right? So I wasn't sure if everyone had done it, but yeah, if folks didn't do it this last time, I think now that we've gone through all the goals, it would be great for everyone to do it. I don't know if that has to happen through parks staff, or I don't know how to do it in such a way that it's not gonna cause any issues.
Brown Act issues,
Yeah,
right.
Brown Act issues. So I do think, yes, if we have not gotten that information, we do need to get it into park staff so that we can have all of that at worst for the next time we meet.
Okay, I'll commit to do, making sure that we get the revised plan out to you all like early next week.
Cool.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank
Great.
you.
And I know we do have to open it up for public comment, but before we do that, Donna, thank you so much for being so patient with us as we've been working through this. Actually, I mean, the fact that we've been able to get through all the goals today, I think, is a testament to all the work and all the groundwork that's been done prior. So definitely appreciate you working to organize us and starting to get us in a position to really have a really good work plan for the next 2 fiscal years here.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge Hannah and all the work that she's done as well. It was and Nick as well. So I'm going to sign off. So Hannah, let me know if you need me.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Nice working with you all.
Thank you. And Commissioner Green, it looks like you have your hand up still. Did you have another comment?
Oh, no, sorry, that's the old comment.
Oh, got it. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And I think we have kind of our next steps here. I guess now we'll open up this item 8 for any public comment.
Thank you, Chair. This is public comment time for item number 8. If your hand is raised, your name will be called. So let's give it a few seconds. I don't see anybody with their hands raised at the moment. There are no hands raised, Chair.
All right. Cool. Okay, so we're in the home stretch now. So next item is 9, items for a future agenda. So I think we'll obviously have kind of the final wrap on the work plan as we go into the next meeting. I got Commissioner Akello's request for this whole park administrative districts versus supervisorial districts that we can schedule. Were there any other pieces that either I missed? There, I think there might have been 1 or 2 other ones, but if you guys and Commissioner Green, looks like you have your hand raised, hopefully for a new thing this time.
Yeah, we had it's just raising the idea initiative. I thought we were gonna hear that. So I mean, we had plenty to talk about today, so it's good. It just feels I'd love to hear that sooner rather than later.
Cool.
Yeah, I would love to put something on about equity. Is that idea?
Yeah, that's my understanding. That's the department's right? Or is that? I'm sorry. Nicholas, could you please remind me, were you going to talk about the interpretive plan, right? And that's part of idea?
Commissioner Green, so the interpretive program strategic plan is one of the tools we will use to accomplish the goals set out through the IDEA initiative, which stands for inclusivity, can't even talk anymore. Inclusivity, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And so the interpretive program is going to assist us with that. It's one of the tools we will use to accomplish that.
Okay, great. Yeah, so maybe if you had been talking about that interpretive plan update, and it was going to be with the frame and context of IDEA. Neil, I don't know if that suits kind of what you were thinking about or not.
Yeah, it does, and we will be able to explain as we present on the on the interpretive program strategic plan, how IDEA has informed that plan and how it will advance our goals of IDEA.
Great.
Thank you.
And then looking back at the notes, also there was that flood park survey as well. I think that we had brought up, but I think that might have already been in plan. So, but we'll make sure to put it on a future agenda as well.
Yeah, just when we had talked about it, like I guess
Yeah.
we had talked about understanding, and I understand it doesn't need to be its own completely own item, but we were just talking about getting an update in time to inform, like recommend, right? Like, I guess I would appreciate clarity maybe as part of whenever that gets presented, like at what point is commission like supposed to make a recommendation about the final design or offer feedback on the design? Because now it's gone to community and you're going to incorporate that feedback. And I don't have a good sense of like steps in that process at this body.
Got it. Good. Any other items that you guys want to raise for a future agenda?
I think that's a lot.
That is a lot. we got our work cut out for us. Okay. I believe I have to open this one up for public comment as well.
Okay, this is public comment for this item. Let's give it a few seconds. I don't see anybody with their hands raised at the moment. There are no hands raised, Chair.
All right, great. So now we get to item 10, adjournment. So if there isn't any further discussion, I'm going to move to close the session. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. And I think
one more thing. I think
sure.
We need
Go
one more goal in the bylaws, and that is to do no harm. In
Yes.
terms of creating chaos for the Parks Department.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
We should have one more. Okay, that's it.
Director Calderon, do we get a second on that one?
Yeah,
he's speechless. Look at that, he's speechless. Okay, I guess with that, let's adjourn. We'll reconvene. I think it's Thursday, June 2nd. So we'll see you guys all in a month time frame. But thank you for a good session today.
Thank you.
Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.